Hi everybody and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, I appreciate you so much. Let's go ahead and get right into the crafting.
DIY number 1. For this project, I have a bunch of greenery from Walmart and the Dollar Tree, as well as these bamboo wreaths. I wasn't sure if they were supposed to be 2 wreaths or if they were supposed to stay together somehow. But anyway, I'm taking them apart. And then I also have those Dollar Tree picks that you saw with the eggs and the carrots. So I'm using the smaller wreath, and I am going to start out with this Dollar Tree pick. This is ivy, and you know me, I always have to pull my picks apart. So I cut them all down into pieces, and I'm just positioning the ivy around the wreath. And I'm not using hot glue, I'm just tucking the little stems into the wreath. But then I decided I wanted them more spaced out, so I just rearranged them a little bit and I left gaps because I'm going to now come in with this pick from Walmart. I forget what this is called. Oh, eucalyptus, I think, right? And so I'm coming in with my eucalyptus and I am just filling in some of those gaps. So now I'm looking at these carrot picks and I'm trying to figure out how I want to position them on here. And ultimately, after looking at them, I decided they were just too big. So I pulled out my little baby carrots that I also have from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just positioning them around on my wreath in different spots. So once I had them where I wanted them, I went ahead and used my hot glue and secured them into the wreath in their various positions. So you can do this however you would like. I've got some of them with the tips pointing out. I've got others with the tips pointing in. I was just kind of doing what looked nice to me. So your imagination is going to lead you. So I ended up doing the same thing with the eggs. I took one look at them and decided they were too big. So I've got my mini eggs here. And these I think are meant to hang on like a little Easter tree. So I just pulled those little ribbons out. They were literally just tucked into the styrofoam eggs. They weren't secured with glue or anything. They pulled right out. So really, really easy to repurpose these. And I just came in and placed them around with hot glue as well, all around in different places until I was satisfied with my little wreath. So now I came in with some ribbon. Now, if you remember from the holidays, this is ribbon from Costco, and you can get this oh my goodness, I want to say 500 yards. Is that right? I think it's 500 yards of ribbon for like $7. Maybe it's 50 yards. You guys, you know, my brain is like, memory just isn't working. But at any rate, I created this really pretty bow, but I just wasn't liking the way that it looked with this wreath. I've decided it just needed something a little bit more rustic, a little more down to earth, if you will, with the carrots and the eggs. So enter the burlap ribbon from Hobby Lobby that I had picked up on sale a while back. I actually got this last fall and it was 50% off. And I cut off a length that was about 2 feet long, and I'm creating just my little bow loops, trying to decide where I'm going to want to place this on the wreath. I finally settled on my original thought, cut off another length about 2 feet again, and this is what I'm going to use for my tails. I did think about securing it in the middle there, but then decided to come in with a piece of wire, and you didn't really see me grab that wire, but I do have just a little piece of scrap wire that I twisted around the middle there. And now I had rolled some burlap onto itself and cut off a little bit of that piece because I wanted to fashion something to make the middle of my bow look pretty. So I'm just wrapping that around. I kind of used the wire to tuck it all together and then came in with some hot glue. Now you can use a pipe cleaner for that as well. It doesn't have to be wire. I just happen to have wire on my table, so I used the wire that was right there because I was being lazy. I didn't want to have to go digging for one of my pipe cleaners. So I'm now attaching my tails. You saw I just kind of bunched up the middle of my tails, secured that with the wire as well, and just coming in with some hot glue and making sure that that's all nice and secure. So once that's all cooled, I went back to just verify where I wanted my ribbon. And once I had it positioned properly, I came in and hot glued that as well. Now, had I used a longer piece of wire, I would have just wired it to the wreath form. So you can do that. And sorry if you hear Sammy rattling around in the background. He's here visiting with me as usual. But yeah, you could use that and then trim off your little ends to make them nice and pretty. And that's it. Let me know what you think. If you like it, give me a big thumbs up.
Thank you so much for being here. I sincerely appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't already subscribed, I hope you will consider doing that and make sure you hit that bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. On my channel, I love doing all different kinds of DIYs and crafts, lots of Dollar Tree, almost always on a budget. I post every Friday with a brand new set of projects, and I go live with you every other Sunday, alternating between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. to try to accommodate your schedules. So I hope you'll join me for a live chat sometime soon. Today's video is really special because it is part of Heidi Sombel's DIY challenge, and our theme is Easter, in case you didn't already catch that from that first project. So if you are not familiar with Heidi, I hope that you'll check her out as well, because she is phenomenal, and there is an entire playlist that goes along with this challenge. So after you watch my video, I hope that you'll go ahead and watch all of the other videos in the playlist and show all of those other crafters some love, because there's a lot of inspiration out there. You'll find links to the playlist and to Heidi's channel in my description box. So let's go ahead and get right back into it.
DIY number 2. For this project, I have some supplies from the Dollar Tree again. Shocker. So I have this cute little basket wood cutout, and then you can see I have my moss there. I believe that's the reindeer moss. Some more egg picks. I was trying to decide if I was going to try and pull that wooden bow off of there, and yeah. I messed with it some more, and ultimately, yeah, here I go. I'm going to try and see if I can pry it off of there. I don't recommend this. I did start cracking the wood when I was messing with it. Here I am, hot, heat gun, trying to see if maybe I could loosen it that way. Yeah, it wasn't coming off of there. So if you want to try and cut it off, you could try and do that, but I just had to go with it. So I figured I would give it a nice coat of light pink. I looked at it, guys. It was, Victorian. Oh my goodness, my memory, it's shot. But I do have the paint in my Amazon store if you want to take a look for it. It's a home decor paint, that I do know for certain. But at any rate, I was planning on using a green twine that I ended up not using, but I'll use it in the next project. I just decided it was a little too thin for what I was trying to do. So now I'm coming in with my jute cord from Walmart, and I am securing this, as you can see, with some hot glue, and I'm just wrapping it around. And once I get the base done, I didn't use the hot glue anymore, and I just went all the way around, all the way up to the top of the basket. Now, I did this to measure off the amount of jute cord I wanted to use. You could certainly leave it like that if you like the way that looks. Just secure it with some hot glue at the top and you are done. However, as I had started this project and done the first few rounds around the bottom, I was thinking about how I wanted to do it, and I decided I really wanted it to look like a woven basket. So, of course I did. Because why wouldn't I have thought of that before, when I could have started these lines before I started the whole thing? But anyway, so if you do decide to do it this way, you might want to just cut those little strands off first, and then you don't have to worry about measuring off your jute cord, right? Because you can just go with it. So once I had those little, I don't even know what you want to call them, the weaving pieces set, I continued on with my jute cord. I did go over the base of them once completely just to hide those ends. And now I'm coming back through and I'm weaving it. So I'm going in front of one, behind the other, in front of the next, behind the next one. So just alternating to create that weaving pattern. Now, when I first started this, I did use some hot glue. You can see I'm using the hot glue here. But once I had it going, I no longer needed the hot glue. I was just a little bit nervous about getting it started and wanted to make sure that everything was nice and secure. So I think that might have been nope, I guess I'm doing one more row with the hot glue, and then I definitely did abandon the hot glue after this row. So here you can see I'm just weaving it in and out and pulling it tight. I guess I was a little concerned that it might separate too much and that you would see that hole in the center, but I was able to just keep pulling it all tight, keep pulling everything or compressing everything just so that it was staying tight, so that there weren't gaps between my rows. Hopefully that's making sense. And it actually worked out really, really well. I will say that this did take a little bit of hand strength because I was trying to keep everything really tight. And so my right hand was getting a little tired, and because I'm like holding that really firmly and making sure that nothing is coming loose. So if you do have arthritis or something like that, it might be a little bit challenging for you. But you certainly can go for it and try it. Just a heads up that you might need to take a break here and there. It definitely did take some hand strength. So once I had all my weaving done, I did come across the top of it a couple of times just to make sure that all of that was sealed in, and then I trimmed off those little pieces, and then I came back in again and just covered up those ends with more of my jute cord. Just making sure that it's nice and finished, even though I'm going to be covering it up anyway, but you guys know I'm a little OCD with making sure things look finished. So then I trimmed off that the little piece, and I tucked it in behind in the back, and I did secure it with a little bit of hot glue. So now I am starting on my basket handle, and I hadn't quite figured out yet how I was going to bridge the gap where there isn't a way to lace it through like this. So I do end up going back afterwards, and I will show you how I do that. And in hindsight, I probably would have just started with that part rather than coming in with it at the end, but this is how we learn, right? So I'm just wrapping this around the handle because I do want it to look like a basket. And I went ahead and looped some around the middle of our little bow there. And then I just went ahead and continued on to the other part of the basket handle. And Sammy is again bouncing around here with me, so you can probably hear his little collar rattling. So sorry about that. So once I had that all secured, like I said, this is where I was trying to figure out how to bridge that gap. So I added some hot glue, I pulled it down across, and then I just folded it back towards itself again. So almost like a zigzag pattern. So I just needed to make sure I used enough hot glue to keep it in place, but that was what I did. So I'm gonna lay it down again with some hot glue, just lining it up with where the rest of that handle is, and then folding it back and just securing it each time back and forth in a zigzag until I got to the end. And then just used a little bit more hot glue and secured it on down. Now you know that top handle piece is bothering me, right? So here I go, and I'm just going to do the same thing with that top handle piece. So I'm going to bring it back and forth just to finish off that handle, so that at least I know, even though it's covered, that it's completely finished, because that makes me happy. So once that was all done, I just trimmed off that little excess part. And now I have my little egg picks. I just pulled them off of those skewers. Those were glued in, so you just had to kind of give it a little bit more of a tug. And I'm using my old kitchen knife that has made it into my crafting arsenal, and just very carefully cutting these eggs in half lengthwise. So once I have that done, I'm just arranging them and trying to decide how I want them to be positioned. So you can see me thinking away there. And then I decided I was going to put my reindeer moss down first because I don't want any of the wood showing. So using my hot glue, securing my reindeer moss, And then I'll come back in with my little eggs and place them where I want them and cover up any more of that wood that's showing. So placing those all down and around. And then I'll come in with my hot glue and make sure that those are all nice and secured as well. And yeah, of course, I had to do the back, right? And it's silly, I know, because this is meant to be hung up somewhere, but I don't know. I decided I wanted the back finished as well. So that's what I did. So now I'm starting out with this cute little ribbon, and it is really pretty. It's got that little stitching effect along both edges, but I decided it wasn't quite as full as I wanted it, so I went and grabbed some of my satin wired ribbon, and I selected the lighter pink color, and I am just doing like I did before with the first project and creating a bow. This time I do go ahead and tie it around the middle, so I actually tied it first and then tucked my loop in. You can do it either way. For me at the time, it just seemed like it was going to be easier to keep my bow together in my fingers if I did it that way. Yeah, I don't know. So that was what I did. Trimming off my little tails to make it nice and pretty, and then getting it to about the length that I want it. And then I'm going to secure it right over top of the wooden bow. And I'm gonna fluff it up and make it all perky and pretty. And then I did actually decide to come in with another piece of ribbon and just tie another bow. I guess I thought at the time it might help secure it a little bit better, make it look a little bit more full and hide more of the wood, because I just wanted the wood hidden. So just tucking the ribbon in and around it, and then making the back look a little bit prettier also. I did not add another ribbon to the back. Would you have added another ribbon to the back or another bow to the back? Tell me in the comments what you would have done. Gosh, I'm so OCD sometimes, but let me know what you think. So now it's time for a shout out timeout, and we have a lot to shout out about today. So much fun, Mary Ann. I love your gnome. This was fashioned after one that I did. Thank you for sharing. Lovely Lori. Lori did a lot of diamond art projects. Fabulous. And terrific Tammy. I love this cute little sign. Marvelous Michelle. Michelle has been super busy, such great projects, and I love it, Linda. Another cute little gnome. And I have to give shout outs to my nieces. Michaela and Alexa is going to be coming up next. You did awesome jobs, you guys. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. And I would love to give you a shout out too. If you have a project you'd like to share with us all, please email me at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 3. For this project, I have a little sign from the Dollar Tree. This is leftover from Halloween. I also have these cute little moss bunnies and more of those little mini eggs. And so I'm just going to start out by using my Adirondack white chalk paint from Home Decor, giving this sign a couple of really good coats so that the design is all covered. And then I have my ARTEZA acrylic paint marker. I'm flipping over the tip, so just a tip, no pun intended, that if you use the acrylic paint markers from ARTEZA, or actually any of their paint markers, I think, they have a fine point that's hidden on the other side of your tip. So you use that little pair of tweezers that comes with the set, and you can flip that around for having a fine point. So you noticed that I started in the middle and kind of worked my way out. It was just my attempt at trying to make it more centered. I had also written my Happy Easter out on my parchment paper first, just to try and get an idea of the lettering position. So I tend to be very visual, so I like to see how things are going to be laid out, or I try to picture it in my head. You'll always see me like air drawing things first. And then I just came in and created the font the way I wanted it. Just a really simple, cute, font, because I was being lazy and I didn't feel like dealing with a cricket. So actually I don't have a cricket, I'm dealing with a silhouette, sorry. But now I am coming in. This is the cord that I was talking about earlier. It's a really pretty green twine that my friends at burlapfabric.com sent me, and it's so pretty. I've been waiting for a project to use this on, so I was happy to use it here. And I'm really just wrapping it around the sign, wanted to give it a really pretty finished edge. And it's also going to serve as a little grassy green area for our bunnies and our eggs in just a minute. And I'm sorry if you're hearing strange noises, because now Sammy has a rawhide that he is trying to share with me at the moment. Funny puppy. But once I had this all wrapped around everything, I went ahead and used some more glue just to secure that down, and that was all taken care of. I tucked in that end like I had done on the other project. So now I've got my little moss bunnies, and I'm just arranging them, trying to figure out how I want everything placed. I'm coming in with a couple of eggs, trying out different colors. I thought, well, the orange I wasn't liking, thought maybe the green. Nah, I wanted the blue. Of course, the blue is all the way at the bottom of the bag. So I got those positioned and went ahead and took those little hangers off of them. And now I'm coming in with this really pretty pink ribbon. It's super thin. I want to say it's like 1/8 of an inch. And I wanted to put little bows around my bunnies' necks. And at first I thought I would just do it this way, tying it right on. But I wasn't liking how the bow was laying when I had it situated. So I ended up pulling that out, and then I just created fake bows, if you will, right? So doing the same thing you've seen me done 1,000 times. I created the little bow, added some hot glue, put a little strip around it. This was definitely on the challenging side because the ribbon was so tiny. So I was feeling like I was all thumbs for part of it, but I muscled through it. It was all good. So now I just trimmed another piece of ribbon to create a little collar for our bunny friend, and I will secure that with hot glue once I get it to the length that I want it, so that there's not too much overlap. And then once that's secured, I went ahead and added the little bow and then attached that right over the seam, so no one is the wiser. And then I went ahead and did the same thing for the other two bunnies. So now going to secure the bunnies first, and I'm doing the two on either end so that I make sure that they are lined up with the ends. And then I'll come in and do the middle bunny just to make sure that it's as centered as possible. Just using a good amount of hot glue on the bottom of each of these. And then I came in with the eggs. I'm trying to decide if I want to stand them upright or if I like them better laying down. I decided laying down was more my preference. And I have the skinny ends of the eggs pointing in towards the middle bunny. So that was it, you guys. Take a look at this and see what you think. I'm really happy with it. And here we are with the final reveal.
Okay, everybody, that's it for today. If you didn't already subscribe, please hit that subscribe button and make sure you ring that bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you again so much for being here. I appreciate you all. Take good care, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.